Hello there. Today we are going to talk about my past, present, and future of books. What I've read, what I'm in the middle of, and what I'm going to get into. There's two books that I recently finished. First one we're going to talk about is a random book I picked up called Here in Avalon by Tara Isabella Burton. And this book is about two sisters. And one of the sisters, she's a dreamer. She dreams of finding the perfect love, the perfect career or whatever. So she runs off and goes all over and travels abroad and meets people and falls wildly in love and then out of love. And then there's the other sister, Rose. So Rose is the stable one and Cecilia is the dreamer. And Cecilia disappears and comes back home and disappears and comes back home. And this has been like a normal behavior of hers for as long as her and Rose have been around. And I think they're like close to 30 now in this book. Cecilia's the older one, but you'd never know it with the way she behaves. So Rose has a steady job, she's engaged, seems to have a decent, stable, good life. She loves the man she's with. Everything is, routine and good. Then the whirlwind that is Cecilia shows up back home, and Rose is held on to her apartment, and they're in New York. So she still has her apartment just in case Cecilia comes home, but her fiance is always like, when are you going to sell that place so we can move and get out of here? But she's like, well, what if Cecilia comes home? And he's like, you need to really just like cut it out with your sister. And it's like, that's kind of crap that he would, say that to your family. And if she loves her sister who's got a lot of issues, so what, dude? Anyways, Cecilia comes home and she's like, I'm sick of myself. I'm done being this hurricane mess and whatnot. And she comes back and she's like, I want to help you plan your wedding. I want to help do this and that. She gets a job. Things are starting to be normal. She's cleaning up after herself, which she didn't always do before. At some point, she gets to this point where she starts to like fade away a little bit again. Like maybe she's gonna up and run. And like she's done this to her sister so many times. Rose is always like on the ready for it, waiting. There's one night that her sister comes out with her and some of her friends, and they're walking through the city, and there's this girl in this bullhorn yelling about like they've been taking people, taking women, taking children, taking whoever. The fairies have been taking them, and like Cecilia has this like heart of gold and will always talk to these lost and wandering people. And Rose is like, what the heck? So she grabs her. She's like, no, 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 don't go talk to that lady, whatever. And then at some point, Cecilia ends up with this card about the Avalon, and it's about having a new you or finding a new start and all of that. One day, Cecilia again goes missing, and somehow it's tied to what that girl standing on her soapbox yelling about fairies on a red boat, which I didn't mention the red boat before, but anyways, there's a red boat. They come and they take people away. Do they go to the land of the Fae? I don't know. So Rose starts to like search desperately to figure out where her sister would have disappeared to. Her sister's ex-husband, or well, technically they're still married. He finds Rose, or she reaches out to him. I can't remember. Celia had contacted him and was like, I'm going away this time for good. Don't look for me. And she goes away to wherever this red boat with the fairies went. And it was such a weird, magical, emotional, just intriguing read that I highly enjoyed. Hadn't heard anything about it. Really loved it. After that, needed a little weirdness in my life, all right? I've been watching a lot of, there's this production company called Small Town Monsters. I watch a lot of their YouTube videos, and they cover a lot of paranormal topics like UFOs, Bigfoot, all kinds of cryptids, Men in Black, phenomenon that goes along with UFOs and all that stuff. They were talking about the Men in Black, and then they had a guest on whose name is Micah Hanks. They mentioned one of his books, The UFO Singularity. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, sounds kind of interesting. So I picked it up and I read it, and it's quite freaking fascinating and weird. And it's about like, and it's an older book, but it still resonates with today. It's like the intersection of like when technology hits a point that where do you go from here? The UFO singularity is, it's basically you hit this point of an intelligence explosion where it's conducive that the technological creation of some form of intelligence that surpasses that which humans are naturally capable of. So there's seeds for technology that will one day permit intelligence exceeding the capacity of the human mind that have already been sown in the fertile grounds of many promising industries of today. And so it gets into all that like tech and talk about that. And then like different thoughts about where UFOs could possibly come from, whether they are from a galaxy far, far away, or if they're from Earth and it's just technology that's existed that is, you know, government technology or funded by really wealthy, rich people. Who knows? And it could be interdimensional, like that's another option, and it delves into all of that. And it was just such a fascinating read. And this guy has a ton of other books. Also, he's super charismatic, very interesting to listen to, just a wealth of knowledge. So I definitely want to read more of his books. He has a podcast. He's been on a bunch of different stuff. I will link his website down below and a couple other stuff about him because his knowledge was quite impressive. Just one of those people that you watch him and you're just kind of like drawn to that energy. And his book was fantastic. So if you're into the subject of the paranormal and UFOs and technology and stuff like that, I would highly recommend the UFO Singularity, or maybe check out some of Micah Hank's other books as well. So now, what am I in the middle of? I have started the fourth book in the Dark Tower series, Wizard and Glass. And I think I'm about like 60 pages in, so not too far. Where we last left our heroes, our gunslingers, Roland and Susanna Dean and Eddie Dean, and Jake and Oi, the Bumbler. Oi is my favorite character. Stephen King's probably going to kill him in a horrible way in the series, and I'll be really sad. But in the meantime, I love him. He's like a little... He almost reminds me of like a Tanuki, like a Mario Tanuki. He's like they say he's like a raccoon badger dog. But anyway, so when we last left off on the last book, they were on this train called Blaine that is like the sentient, kind of crazy train. So all aboard the crazy train, right? He's like, hey, when we get to our destination, I'm just gonna crash and kill all of you guys with me to end my life or whatever. You know, they were trying to get through the wastelands to go to the Dark Tower, and Roland's like, oh hell no. He's like, F you, Blaine. He's like, you petulant little blah blah blah, and he like tells him off. And he's like, how about this? We work out a deal. I can tell the riddle that stumps you, then you spare our lives. Because right now you're offering us nothing. You want us to tell you riddles, and you're like, you win death. What a prize is that? And so he agrees to this. And so we come into the story. They're all on the train and they're gonna try to tell a riddle to this like supercomputer, this ghost in the machine, Blaine, and try and stump him. I'm got to the point where they're almost all out of riddles and they're almost all out of track, and Eddie Dean has stepped up to the plate to tell maybe not so serious riddles that Roland had not initially wanted him to tell, but I think this is gonna be what stumps Blaine. So we're at that point, and it was, and I knew I shouldn't have started reading it before filming, because I'm always like, Stephen King just draws me in so much that I don't want to put his books down when I start reading. And this book is close to 900 pages. It's like 893, I believe. It's huge. I haven't read a book this huge in a while, so I don't know. That's probably what I'm gonna do. Like after I'm done filming tonight, I'm gonna read more of the fourth book in the Dark Tower series. I love the series so much so far. It's just been really great. All right, so stuff I'm gonna get into in the future. And I've already kind of gotten into it, I guess. So Patrick Barb, who is an author I've talked about before, he has a really great collection of short stories that I had read previously called Pre-Approved for Haunting. I have a video for that, and I will link that down below if you want to check that out. And he also had another book that was like helicopter parenting in the age of drone warfare that was really good. That was like a short little novella. And I'll link that down below too if you want to check it out. But his newest, called The Children's Horror. This comes out July. Oh, I can't remember the date right now, but I'll put the date down here when I edit this later. The Children's Horror. It starts out, there's these two teachers. They're at school. All the kids start acting really weird. They have this like hour where they sit down and they're all like in a circle and they start like whispering stuff to each other, and then the children get all creepy, eerie, and weird. And then the one teacher calls the other teacher's classroom. She's like, hey, how are your kids doing? The lady's like, I don't know. And she's like, oh, well, mine, they're gone. Some of them are in the the air ducts, others ran out of the room, and yeah, they're gone. What the F? So she's like, can you come meet up with me? So the other teacher comes in there, and then she turns around and all her kids are gone except for one. But in that one child, they're all like in there, and there's like this weird voice. And all of a sudden, over the loudspeaker, is the principal's voice saying, "Hey, come to the auditorium. We have a special surprise for you." And da 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 da. Oh, the teachers, I don't know why they didn't run. Maybe they couldn't have, maybe they wouldn't have. Who knows? They go to the auditorium and they roll in this like old TV, and they're gonna watch the children's shows. They're all sitting on the bleachers and they're like, "We want to watch our shows." And also the principal is dead at this point because the kids murdered him. All right. So now we're gonna get into the shows. And it's children's shows, but with a much darker edge. And I love this whole idea for this. You get like all these kids shows, but as horror. I've only read the first story, and I really liked it. It is dark and twisted AF. And I can't wait to read more of it. So super excited for this one. I've enjoyed what I've read of Patrick Barb so far. And so I just thought this was such a cool idea. Maybe someone's done this before. I haven't heard of it. Like, I thought that was super cool. So I'll read you the little synopsis too. So keep watching. No matter how weird it gets, don't change the channel. Imagination is a wonderful thing, opening doorways of creativity and possibility. But what about the other doors it can open? The ones revealing twisted passageways of corrupted innocence and unfathomable cosmic nothingness. In an elementary school auditorium, on a TV set playing weird and sinister versions of today's popular kids' TV programs, you will experience the dark side of imagination firsthand. The Children's Horror is a themed short story collection from horror author Patrick Barb that presents today's most popular kids' TV franchises through a darker lens. From cities controlled by dogs to possibly dead children acting as would-be heroes, and from the infant sharks to the strange fates of written-off sitcom characters, this collection offers must-read thrills perfect for a perfectly unsettling Saturday morning. Whether you're a parent, a caregiver, a teacher, or a kid at heart, you've probably watched some children's shows, wondering what it would be like if things were a little different and a little darker. The time for wondering is over, TV is on, and the children have something they want you to see. How creepy is that? I love it. I love it. This one's going to be so fun. I love cryptids. I follow this author on Instagram, Nicole Wolverton. They have a book coming out, and it's called A Misfortune of Lake Monsters. Oh, as I said, I love cryptids. I also love underwater horror. So this combines both, and I'm super excited about the book. So let me read you the synopsis of this. Lemon Ziegler wants to escape rural Devil's Elbow, Pennsylvania, to attend college. But that's impossible now that she's expected to impersonate the town's lake monster for the rest of her life. That's a bummer, man. Her family has been secretly keeping the tradition of Old Luxie, the famed and very fake monster of Lake Lokacoma, alive for generations, all to keep the tourists coming. Without Lemon, the town dies, and she can't disappoint her grandparents or tell her best friends about any of it. That includes Troy Ramirez, who has been covertly in love with Lemon for years, afraid to ruin their friendship by confessing his feeling. When a very real and very hungry monster is discovered in the lake, secrets must fall by the wayside. Determined to stop the monster, Lemon and her best friends are the only thing standing between Devil's Elbow and the monster out for blood. They manifested it. So many people believed in the monster, it became real. I don't know if that's the actual premise that people like created an egregore, but maybe. We don't know. I thought that sounded pretty cool. So I'm excited for this book. It comes out July 2nd. So I will definitely be picking that up. I don't know if I'll read it right away. I might save it for the Cryptid Readathon in November. So we'll see. But I might not be able to wait. But yeah, I will have links down below to all these books. Some of those are affiliate links, which is a great way to support the channel and to support indie bookstores. Yeah, so lately it's been like weird books, like from the Fae to UFOs to lake monsters to more Stephen King, of course. What have you guys been reading recently? Anything weird? I'm always looking for good new weird books to read. So let me know if you have any nonfiction paranormal recommendations. If you're a fan of weird and paranormal books, the next video coming up will be about weird and paranormal books. So stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.